Hello everyone, welcome to A Taste of Asia. I'm Vinay Nguyen, and on today's segment I've got oodles of noodles, Asian noodles of course. And if you've ever had noodles that come in a package that you cook in hot water with a little spice packet, then you're missing out on so much. I'm actually going to show you a variety of different Asian noodles that are far more tastier and a lot more interesting. So as you probably know, rice is a common staple in all Asian cultures, and it's served at every meal, even breakfast. So because rice is such a focal point of Asian cooking, you can imagine that many of the Asian noodles are made from rice. So unlike with other cuisines such as Italian, they primarily use wheat and eggs to make their noodles or their pasta. But many Asian noodles are made not only from rice, but also from wheat as well, depending on the area, depending on what's abundant. So you have different wheat-based noodles as well as rice noodles, and also different vegetables are used quite often. For example, yams or sweet potatoes, different types of beans such as mung beans. So I'm going to show you a little bit later how to make a really quick, simple cellophane noodle salad. But first I'm going to show you some of the noodles that are readily available at your favorite grocery store. Noodles in Asian culture, by the way, are considered a symbol of longevity. So just as rice, as I mentioned, is such an important part of Asian cuisine, noodles also are considered an Asian comfort food. So think of how we, for example, feel towards macaroni and cheese or pasta or even chicken noodle soup. Asian noodles are considered a comfort food and also used for celebrations like birthdays and weddings. So I will show you a few of my favorite noodles that I like, and you're probably familiar with some of them. Either you've had them before at your favorite Asian restaurant, or you've seen them at the grocery store. So hopefully this will inspire you to explore more a variety of different Asian noodles. So first I want to show you, this is a Chinese egg type of noodle. If you've ever had lo mein, this, you can see the yellow color is very similar to an Italian fresh pasta. This is great for stir fries. Chinese lo mein, for example. Most Chinese restaurants, believe it or not, actually use Italian spaghetti for their lo mein, but this is a perfect type of noodle to use for any type of stir fry, lo mein specifically. And then these noodles are Japanese udon noodles, and they're characteristically they're thick and more of a round shape. And you will see these udon noodles mostly in Japanese brothy type of soup. And usually in most American culture, we frown upon any noise when we eat. Usually it's very poor etiquette or poor manners, but actually in Asian culture, it's actually okay to slurp your noodles, whether it's a noodle dish or in soup. It's more like a compliment to the cook that you're really enjoying your meal. So these udon noodles are actually really great for slurping. And the other Japanese noodle I want to show you are Japanese soba noodles, which a lot of people are familiar with. Usually they are a cold noodle dish that usually comes with a soy type of dipping sauce. And these are made from buckwheat. And this is what it looks like before it's cooked. They usually come in little bundles, and so you can cook just a small amount or a few bundles at a time. And these, like I said, are buckwheat noodles that are usually gluten-free, but you do have to read the labels because a lot of times many of the non-gluten Asian noodles, they do add wheat. So even though buckwheat is usually not, doesn't contain gluten, you do have to read the labels. And so these are perfect for cold noodles, but you'll also see these a lot of times in different types of Japanese soups as well. And then the other type of noodle that's very popular is called rice vermicelli noodles. And these are thin, made from rice, very thin, almost like to compare angel hair or capellini pasta. It's very thin, and this is what it looks like dried. It comes usually in a block like this. And these, if you've ever had Vietnamese summer rolls, the spring rolls that aren't fried, these are the noodles that are usually in the summer rolls. And they're also very popular in noodle bowls. So that's made from rice as well. By themselves, the noodles on the most part are very flavorless. It's really about, you know, the recipe itself, whether it's in a salad or a soup or as a stir fry, but by themselves they really are somewhat flavorless. So it's really depending on the seasonings you use. And then the other type of rice noodle is what's called oftentimes rice sticks. And the rice stick noodles are, if you've ever had a Thai noodle dish, pad Thai noodles, these are the noodles that are usually used, as well as the famous Vietnamese soup called pho. They come in different sizes, usually labeled small, medium, or large, but usually the thin 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch is used for either pad Thai noodles or the Vietnamese soup pho. And this is what it looks like dried. It comes in long strands like this. And usually most Asian noodles you have to soak first in very warm to hot water, and then after they're soaked, then they're finished cooking in, whether it's the soup or the stir fry, it's finished cooking after it soaks for about 20 minutes. And these noodles here are also rice noodles. If you've ever had chow fun or drunken noodles, those are those rice noodles. And then lastly, I have one. They're made from mung beans, and they're sometimes called glass noodles or sometimes Chinese vermicelli. These, again, have to be soaked first, usually for about 15 minutes. And then you'll find these a lot in either Thai soup, or if you've ever had fried Vietnamese spring rolls, or sometimes they're called egg rolls. These are the noodles that are usually found in the spring rolls. And I'm going to show you how to make a salad out of these cellophane noodles. These have kind of a gelatinous texture, and also, unlike with some of the other rice noodles that are more soft in texture, these cellophane noodles have more of a toothsome bite. So it's a little different. I like stir frying these as well as in soups, but today I'm going to make a salad, which I like to use different ingredients and kind of play around with different recipes. So I came up with a recipe that uses the cellophane noodles along with some fresh vegetables. And what I like to do is soak the noodles, like I said, for about 15 minutes. And then you finish cooking them. Since they're going in a salad, you want them to be completely tender and cooked. So another maybe 3 minutes in hot water, and then you just drain them. I like to also rinse them to stop them from cooking. And then what I do is very simple. I'm going to make a really simple dressing, so to speak. It's going to be a little bit of honey, some soy sauce, and some lime juice. And a lot of times in Asian cuisine, there's a combination of sweet, salty, sour. So with the honey, we have the sweetness, of course, and soy sauce, we have the saltiness, and some lime juice will give, of course, the sourness. And I used just some simple ingredients. I'm going to use some snow peas that I've already cut into smaller strips. And what I did, actually, a good tip is, since I had to drain my cellophane noodles, what I did was I drained them over the snow peas. And snow peas, of course, you can eat raw, but when I poured the noodles over the snow peas, it brings out that nice green color and also takes out that kind of rawness. But you can, of course, eat snow peas completely raw. They're really nice and crunchy in salads. And then I have some cucumbers, and I have a few carrots. Now I like to add a couple different unusual ingredients. What I'm going to use is something called jicama, and you've probably seen this at the store. It's some people say it tastes like a cross between an apple and a water chestnut. I'm not quite sure about that, but it does add a really nice crunch to any salad. So what you do have to do first is, it has a thick outer skin. And I find that a knife works the best because the skin is a little tough, that it will just take a little extra effort with a peeler. But if you just go around like this, and this adds a really nice crunch to any salad, or really a great little snack like a crudité. And all you have to do is just cut fairly thin pieces. You want to, have everything somewhat of the same size. And then just to show you, just very thin pieces like that. So jicama, next time you see it at the store, you'll know that you can put it in salads. It's actually really good also in stir fries. I put jicama in stir fries quite a bit too. Okay. So I add that to my snow peas and my cucumbers and my carrots. And then another unusual ingredient I have is pickled ginger. And if you've ever had Japanese sushi, most likely you've had pickled ginger. And what I did was just very thin slices, and that's going to add a little bit of sweetness as well as a little spiciness too. Okay, so then of course our main ingredient, the cellophane noodles or glass noodles that have already been cooked. Now this is an unusual salad that you could of course have as part of any Asian themed meal as a first course, or you could bring it to your next cookout or potluck. And also, other than the honey, soy sauce, and lime juice, I'm also going to add a tiny bit of sesame oil. And sesame oil is not really a cooking oil, it's more just flavoring. So always use it sparingly. It's just for a little hint of nuttiness. So just a little bit goes a long way. And to kind of mimic the sesame taste, I'm also going to add some sesame seeds. Now I normally let this marinate, so to speak, for about 10 to 15 minutes just so all the flavors can meld together. And I have my sesame seeds that have been already toasted. You should always toast sesame seeds. It brings out the nutty flavor. It just tastes a little better. So just in a dry frying pan, you don't need any oil, just over medium heat. It's not something you want to walk away from because once it starts to toast, it happens very quickly. And of course, you don't want to burn your sesame seeds. So I put some in the salad, and then I'll leave a little for garnish at the end. And even though I'm not cooking, this actually smells so delicious from the soy and the sesame and the lime juice. And then finally, I'm going to use some fresh herbs. I'm going to use cilantro, some mint, and some scallions or green onions, sometimes they're called. Now scallions, we're going to use, since this is a salad, we're going to use just the green portion because the bottom portion is more of a strong onion flavor. So reserve that more for if you're doing a stir fry or if you're actually doing cooking. But since this is for salad, I'm only going to use the top green stalks and just slice thin. The scallions are used just like you would an herb, like if you would use parsley in a salad, because it doesn't really need cooking at all. So then just that. And then a little bit of mint, another unusual ingredient, but it's used quite a bit in different Asian cuisines. A lot of mint is used in Vietnamese cuisine. So just a little chop. Rough chop, you don't have to be exact. And that also has a really great aroma. And then lastly, some cilantro. This is sometimes called Chinese parsley, although it tastes nothing like parsley. And it has a really distinct flavor. I found that some people just absolutely, they dislike cilantro, and then some people love it like I do. And some of the tender stems you can actually put into your cellophane noodle salad. Most people just use the leaves, but if the stems are tender, you can definitely use some of the stems in the salad too. Sometimes this is called fresh coriander. So we're just going to give this a rough chop, or you of course could just tear the leaves so that you can still tell what it is. So just a rough chop. So we have our fresh herbs, our scallions, our mint, and our cilantro. And then, like I said, I would normally just let this sit for about 10 minutes. Like that. Give it a stir. And then let me put this into our bowl. We'll give this a try. So noodles, you can find, as I mentioned, in your regular supermarket, usually in the Asian or the ethnic aisle. If you get a chance to go to an Asian market, you'll have more variety to choose from. Plus, the prices are ridiculously inexpensive. So I definitely encourage you to go to an Asian market. Even an Indian market will have many of the dried noodles that I've showed you today. Some of the fresh noodles are available at your favorite grocery store, usually near the tofu, for example. Sometimes they have it near the bean sprouts or the ginger, because those are obviously Asian. So you do have to sometimes look around, but many of the noodles now that I've showed you today are readily available. If you get to the Asian market, though, you'll notice there's dozens, if not 100 different types of Asian noodles. It can be very overwhelming, but it's definitely an interesting experience because you'll get to see just how many varieties there are. So I have this in a pretty bowl. And after, 15 minutes or so, it does pick up more flavor, and that's one of the reasons why I love using the cellophane noodles, is they really do pick up a lot of flavor. They really absorb. So a good 15 minutes will help, enhance the flavor. And then what I would do is add some more toasted sesame seeds. You always want to think about the appearance of your food because, as they say, we eat with our eyes. So I always do a little extra garnish. Again, maybe a few of the fresh herbs on top. A few more scallions. Okay. And so you see how quickly this comes together. Usually if you have all your ingredients prepped, the actual preparation of the dish itself comes together very quickly. And then also I could do a little extra squeeze of lime for a little tartness. And if you do like it spicy, you can also add either some sriracha, you could add a little of sambal to add spiciness, or even fresh jalapenos works really well in this. And if you wanted to add cooked chicken, that is very simple as well, is to just have some shredded chicken mixed in. And then I'm just going to taste this with my chopsticks. And remember, it's okay to make a little bit of noise when you eat, because it's okay to do that in Asian cultures. So I'm going to give this a little taste. It's really delicious. The little bit of sesame oil that I added, even though it was just a small amount, it really is a strong flavor. So you never want to use too much, but that small amount really works well with the toasted sesame seeds. So this you could bring to, as I mentioned, your next cookout or next potluck. Something a little different. You can really play around with the ingredients as well. I did it very simply today. But I hope that you will be inspired to try different Asian noodles other than just the little one that comes in a plastic pouch. There's so many varieties out there to try. And I hope that you've learned a few things today about Asian noodles. And that's all for today. I hope you join me again soon for another Taste of Asia. I'm Vinay Nguyen. Thank you so much for joining me.